A while back I saw an interview with the filmmaker David Cronenberg. It was really great actually. I'm sure you know David Cronenberg's work, but he's usually known for kind of horror films or films which are disturbing in some way. If he doesn't make horrors, he makes work which, you know, they have a real visceral effect. Like he made Crash, which is a film version of the J.G. Ballard story Crash, which brings together, you know, the kind of the erotics of death in a really graphic way. And it kind of freaks you out a bit to watch that stuff. And his horror films are the same. You know, he just takes it too far and takes it into places that you think, oh, I really don't feel comfortable watching this, but at the same time you're watching it. And he was in this interview I mentioned, he was asked about this, about what his reasons are for making films like that have an effect on people that go into those territories. And he described it as a boot camp for the soul, he said. He said his films are boot camp for the soul. And it's really stuck with me, that phrase, and I really like that phrase. And I've used it a lot in my own thinking. And I'm just going to try and unpack it for myself, because I think obviously it uses words which aren't terribly well defined, but I really like it. But this thing about when he says soul, obviously I don't think he's a religious person. He's not talking about a spiritual soul in any conventional sense. I mean, I take from that sense of who we are, that's the sense of identity, of personality, of character, of being, of psyche, of the patterns of behaviour that we manifest in the world, the feeling of being here now, being this person, not some other person, the feeling of continuity, which makes me feel like I'm the same person as I was 20 years ago, even though everything about me is different. Every cell in my body and every life choice that I've made is different. You know, something about that. That's what I'm taking as a soul. But why would that thing need a boot camp? And I think what he's getting at there, for me, or at least what I'm taking from that, is that it feels like a lot of the time we go through life, particularly if we're fortunate and we don't have to confront a lot of crises, we go through life in a relatively seamless way. You know, we kind of fit in the world. You know, we might not be entirely comfortable all the time, but generally we just kind of fit. You know, our body fits into the space around it. You know, our eyes meet the things that they look at, our ears hear sounds, perfect kind of complementarity between what we're hearing and what the sound is. And we can make predictions about the world, and we tend to be generally right. And, you know, we have kind of social engagements, we know who our friends are, we know who our enemies are, and all that stuff. It's all kind of seamless, you know, or at least it can seem like that. But I think for many people particularly those people who have had some kind of difficulty, some life crisis, you know, people who've been touched with mental illness, for example, or people who've been very close to suffering and death, a loved one or a close family member, something like that, or people who've just had horrific circumstances, social, political circumstances that they've had to try to survive through. You know, that kind of thing, that can shake that sense of being kind of fitting the world, you know, fitting that person-shaped hole that you smoothly move into, you know, as you grow older, kind of. And, you know, and it can be a very jarring experience, that, when you do go through some of those crises and feel a discontinuity, and you feel that the world is not a comfortable place. It doesn't fit you like a glove. You know, your perceptions don't match up to what's around you. Your memories don't work well for you. Your understanding of who people are changes. Your understanding of who you are is constantly in flux. You know, those are really disturbing moments, I think. And people who have gone through those, I think I've been quite fortunate in that regard. But people who have been through those experiences, or some of the kinds of experiences which challenges the smoothness of our relationship to the environment and the world at large, I think they tend to respond in one or two ways. I mean, sometimes they can respond by kind of retreating and denying, or even if you haven't been through those experiences, you know, quite often the reason why we haven't been through those experiences is because as soon as we see them looming, we retreat and retract and we pull our boundaries in a little bit, and we get a little bit more frightened and we pull our borders closer to us, and we don't let ourselves touch other people and other things. You know, so I think we have that sometimes. But if we have been touched by those disasters, or we've had those crises which have revealed the fractured nature of our relationships to the world, that uncomfortableness, which is always threatening to swamp us. If we have had those experiences which reveal that, then we can either scurry back into a shell and deny the discontinuities. Or, quite often, I think we can be broken by it. We can be so challenged by that, so challenged by the erotics of death, that we can be so challenged by the horrors of decay and degradation. We can be so attacked, felt so under-attacked by the abject nature of parts of the world and the fragility and friability of a lot of it, that we can kind of break a bit. We can break. The attack can be so much. The sudden revelation of the weight and the power of the discontinuity can be so much that we can break a bit. Those seem to be a lot of the choices. If that discontinuity is revealed to us, we either pull back and get inside our shell and don't let it hurt us and go into denial, or we, quite often, far too often, just break a bit, just break. And I think what Cronenberg means when he says he's making boot camp for the soul, is at least in terms of ambition, not necessarily achievement, he's saying, these things are going to happen. There is discontinuities, there is fragmentation, there is discomfort. We don't come into the world perfectly world-shaped. The world is not there for our comfort and benefit. And the only way we can make it feel like that is making huge compromises. And we don't want to do that. How can we operate in a world that is like that, and a relationship to the world that's like that? How can we develop the strength to recognise those things and not be broken by them? One of the ways I think he's doing there is saying, well, okay, let's see if we can vaccinate ourselves a little bit with these things. Let's test these things. Let's move towards these realisations, not all at once. Let's not let the weight of those realisations pile on us all at once and threaten to break us. Let's just test ourselves first. Let's build up our muscles. Let's do the reps. Let's do the circuits. Let's go there. Let's go to the erotics of death. Let's look it in the face safely. Let's take a step back. Let's take 2 steps forward and let's take 2 steps back. Let's look at it in the face and build up the muscle that allows us to squeeze into the world and hold the world up in front of us and not be broken by it and not be frightened of it and immobilised by it and hate one another by it. That's what I think he's doing. That's what I think he's doing. I think that's what his films are. You come out of a Cronenberg film having looked into the abyss and seen the abyss look back at you. And it's good for you. It's hard, but it's bloody good for you. We need to do that more often. Boot camp for the soul. He's doing it so you don't have to.